Is Cairo Santos Job in Jeopardy?
That and more on this episode of the Hallis Huddle.
Huddle up! Huddle up, Hallis Huddlers. As always, I'm Rob Schwartz with Bear Goggles On. Tonight with me is Bob Weiss. Justin, unfortunately, couldn't make it, but it's going to be probably a short episode anyway. We are going to talk about the special teams roster versus 2025 versus 2024. But before we do that, please, you can see it at the bottom, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and definitely after you listen to the show or as you're listening, go ahead to the comment section. We love to continue that comment section, continue the show through the comment section. But the reason you want to hit the subscribe button is, look, right here, we are going to be giving away this Brian Urlacher photo. Okay, this is a sideline photographer who had given this to someone that I know. And look, all you got to do is be subscribed, go to the comment section, and type in Huddle Up. Okay, this is going to be part 2 of a 3-part series. You can actually, if you're new to the show, go back to depth chart video number 1 that talks about the offense. Put Huddle Up in there. You get 2 entries. And then we have another episode that'll be coming out shortly on the defense, and that'll give you an opportunity for 3 entries for this baby right here.
Yep, nice and easy. Just huddle up, get you that custom photo. So this is going to be a bit of a shorter episode, special teams. Just because it's going to be shorter doesn't make it any less important. That's of course, right. Out of respect to our podcast brethren, Adam Hogue. I don't want to take this any less seriously than it needs to be. So let's just get started. Probably the most interesting UDFA that the Bears signed was Jonathan Kim out of Michigan State. And what do you think, Rob? Is he a real threat to Cairo Santos this year?
I hope so. I hope that they give him a real opportunity and they weren't just bringing him in to be like a camp body. And the reason I say that is because there's a lot of teams that do bring in extra kickers literally just to get through camp. But look, it's a whole new coaching regime here. Cairo Santos, shockingly, has actually been better from beyond 50 than people actually realize. So look, he made 8 out of 9 attempts last year from 50 plus. So that's actually not that bad when it sounds that way, right? But what he struggles with is his trajectory. Right. So he's got a weaker leg. I think his long is 54, 55 yards. He has to get the ball lower to drive it to get that distance. And we saw it twice, 2 times where he got blocked last year. And it's just something that I'm tired of. I'm tired of the idea of like, look, once you get to a certain point in the field, you should be able to know that you can at least get 3 points. You know, I'm not expecting Brandon Aubrey type, numbers from our kicker here in Chicago, but I would like something at least similar. Okay. If we look at Jonathan Kim, his long in college was 58, much closer to that 60, 62 yards that Brandon Aubrey seems to be doing there in Dallas. So yeah, I do think that he needs to be a true threat to Cairo Santos this year. And look, putting him on the roster and you cut Santos, you can save a few million because you just signed Joe Thuney to an extension, and they're going to need some cap space going into 2026.
So with that, I actually did look up Cairo Santos on Spotrac because I figured that point might come up, and I was with you. I thought you'd save a couple million by cutting him, but this actually shows not. But maybe as opposed to June 1, you spread it across 2 years and you'd save some, but it's still spread across 2 years. This says his cap hit right now is 4.2, and you lose 5.2 if you cut him. So I don't know if that has changed because I thought with you when we did our mock offseason that that's what we were seeing. So, I'm not quite sure about that. And, the stats that exist on Cairo Santos, I agree with you, 8 for 9 from 50 plus, but I want to know what his stats are from 55 plus. I have a feeling it is 0 for 0 because they never attempt anything from 55 plus because they have no faith in him. In this modern NFL, you need to be able to have some faith that it's worth attempting a field goal from back then. And I don't know if Jonathan Kim has that reliability from back there. I don't know the circumstances of that 58-yarder, if it was end of the half, or if it really was like, hey, this is our best offense right now to let this kid try to kick a 58-yarder. But Cairo Santos just needs to be pushed because it affects decisions that are made on the field on game day, right? You actually, your second and third down play calling in a certain part of the field are going to be different because you don't have faith in what your kicker can and can't do. So yeah, I think it's a real competition as well. I hope it's a real competition, but I guess we'll find out more, as this offseason goes on.
I did just look, and if they cut him post June 1, it'll be $1 million in dead money and $3.2 million in cap savings. So.
Okay. All right. Well,
we got a few more days.
Yeah,
no, I think
be a post you unless Jonathan Kim is just destroying it in minicamp right now, and
right.
It's obvious. But yeah, it would have to be post June 1 anyway.
That's right.
So for our punters, I do believe technically there is another punter on this roster, but you just spent a 4th round pick on your current punter. I don't think there's a real competition there. But what did you think of Tory Taylor last year, Rob?
Yeah, so I continue to defend Tory Taylor. I know, you were not the biggest fan of using a 4th round pick on a punter. There are many people out there who completely agree with you. But what he did as a rookie, I mean, it was, not elite. But it was definitely better than what we've seen in the past. It was better than Trenton Gill, the guy you drafted in the 7th round. And I think it's only going to get better from here, right? Like, I know punting is punting, but there are differences when you go from college to the NFL. And, it's probably a little bit different kicking in Soldier Field than it was in Iowa, with that wind off the lake. But I thought he was good. I thought he was solid. There were many games where he would change field position for the Chicago Bears. I don't have any of the punting stats in front of me. I know there are a ton out there.
I have them all in front of me. We're going to go.
That's fantastic. Yes. I want to hear what the stats actually say.
Yeah, because I mean, this episode is not about the merits of drafting a punter in the 4th round, other than to say there is no punting competition this year. It's Tory Taylor's job, right? But here's his rank in yards per punt, 16th in the NFL. Net yards per punt, 21st in the NFL. Touchback percentage, 13th in the NFL. Inside the 20, 41%, which is 18th in the NFL. So he was very solidly and convincingly average. Not good, definitely not elite.
No,
not even good, but certainly not bad or terrible either. So as a rookie, I don't know how much things really change. I mean, is the ball different? Are the coverage and the timing somewhat different between NFL and college? I don't really know what to give faith that he's going to be a near elite punter in the future. But another thing that I just found in doing this research on Tory Taylor, I feel like we never went down the Velus Jones path with Tory Taylor, but he's 27 years old.
He is older. Yep.
Yeah. So all this is to say, we have ourselves a Braxton Jones of punters, let's say, here right now, where he's solidly average. He's just fine if he's your starter. And I'd love to see some improvement. I hope to see some improvement, but Tory Taylor, average punter. He's our guy.
I'm honestly surprised that the touchback percentage in the inside the 20 was lower.
That's why specifically I wanted to do by percentage of kicks that were touchbacks and inside the 20, because that's what he was second in the NFL in total punts.
I mean, that's not a good stat.
It's a punter stat, but
especially when your quarterback literally calls you and said you don't need to do any punting.
Yeah. And so obviously the percentage of touchbacks and inside the 20 could be field position. If you're always punting from your own 25, then you're not going to get a lot of inside 20. So there is some stuff in there, but the yards per punt and the net yards being 16th and 21st are the telling stats there. So interestingly, the Bears brought in another UDFA, who was Tory Taylor's long snapper in college.
And that was the missing piece, Bob. That was
maybe
it.
That's the missing piece. Maybe new long snapper, new punting stats. So Rob, what do we know, if anything, about Luke Elkin, long snapper from Iowa?
I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know anything about long snapping. Look, I mean, if you're a decent enough snapper of the football to the point where you're not, causing problems, to the point where you can snap the ball and block slightly because you don't really get a lot of contact there, being the long snapper. I mean, I'm sure there's things, right? Like how you place the ball, how you spin the ball, like maybe where you can put the laces into a guy's hands might impact things. I would assume, because look, the one thing I do know about Luke Elkin is he was a 4-year starter for Iowa. So he was definitely there during Tory Taylor's time. Maybe he is the key. Like maybe Scott Daly just wasn't cutting it, although he wasn't even the long snapper for most of the year anyway, right? Or no, he was. He ended up taking.
No, he was. Yeah, he
took over.
I was going to say Manley, but who was after Manley? That's who Scott Daly took over, because the guy, he got hurt in training camp, and Scott Daly came in. And
Patrick Scales.
Patrick Scales. There you go. Patrick Scales, right. So Scott Daly was there all year last year. And I think he was fine. I mean, I feel like long snappers is that one of those positions where as long as you have no idea who's long snapping, that's a good thing. He should be anonymous.
Yeah, but I also think the fact that he took over for a guy who had been here for many years, like Patrick Scales had been here for years after Patrick Manley. We had the back-to-back Patricks here in Chicago. And he was able to take over due to an injury, right? But now Patrick Scales is gone. He's not even on the roster. I think that does open up the door, though, right? For another player to come in like Luke Elkin and take that job away.
Yeah, and I do think it's a legitimate battle. I mean, it's it's one of those things. Why not push your long snapper to be better? And if you ended up improving your position because of it, all the better.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Truth, do you think we spent enough time on the long snappers here? Are we okay?
There we go.
Can we move on? All right, let's move on to a bit more exciting part of special teams, which is our kick returners. And I'm really excited about what the Bears did this offseason in respect to their kick returners. Last year, the leading kick returners were DeAndre Carter had 15 and Tyler Scott had 8. Now, a lot of that's the nature of the NFL, and there's just everything's a touchback these days. But it's DeAndre Carter and Tyler Scott, who I guess were fine, but I wouldn't exactly say they lit the world on fire with their returns. And then obviously on the punt side too, DeAndre Carter was your guy, 9.3 yards per return. Nothing too special. The other guy was Josh Blackwell, had 7. His average was 20.9, but a lot of that had to do with he was the returner on that kind of fake reverse. I don't even know what you want to call that, but that kind of trick punt return.
Yeah,
it was like Green Bay in Week 18.
I was going to say it was reminiscent of the
Dave Tobe,
Devin Hester one that ended up getting called back.
Yeah, exactly.
Who was was it Johnny was it Johnny Knox?
I think Johnny Knox might have been the guy who actually ended up returning.
Ran it. Yeah. And then it was like Chris Harris who got the stupid penalty that
it was phantom anyway. The referees had no idea what was going on, so they just threw a flag. That was terrible. Yeah. But that didn't happen in Week 18, and Josh Blackwell was it. But this year, the Bears, it was kind of an under the radar signing, I think, and a lot of it was because he was like introduced as the Bears signed wide receiver Devin Duvernay. He was in Jacksonville last year and spent most of his career in Baltimore before that, but he is an all-pro returner. Second year in the league, which was 3 years ago, was an all-pro returner for Baltimore. Made the Pro Bowl the year later. Like, he's a legitimate burner, a legitimate threat with the ball in his hand. So I'm actually really excited that you go out and get one of the better players in the entire league at his position at kick returner. And then, of course, our other guy, Luther Burden, just got to mention him every episode now because it seems like he's just kind of a House Huddle guy right now. Is also explosive with the ball in his hands, and he did return some punts in college. It was more his sophomore year where he did a lot of his punt returning. But he did have a return touchdown. And, I wonder if, as it just goes on, when your most important players on offense, you don't want to risk them on special teams. So I wonder how much of it him not returning punts later in his career had to do with that. And, in the NFL level, a chance to get an explosive stud with the ball in his hands, you let him return some punts. So I'm pretty excited about these two guys. Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I thought DeAndre Carter was a nice pickup last year, and that did just not work out, especially for punt returns.
Didn't work out for blocking on the goal line either.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, Shane Waldron. God, what are you? I don't know how he's still employed, but good luck, Jacksonville. Yeah, I'm excited for Duvernay. I think that's a definitely a great signing. As like you said, he's younger, right? Like way younger than DeAndre Carter. So still has a lot of fuel in the tank, a lot of tread on the tires. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it'll be a good situation to be in. I do think it means Tyler Scott might end up getting pushed off the roster.
Yeah, if he loses some of his special teams value, then it comes down to his value in the receiver room, and we'll just kind of see. I mean, maybe new offense is able to scheme him into space more than him having to go win 50-50 balls deep, which clearly isn't his thing, but we'll just have to see with that. But yeah, generally speaking, I'm excited about the direction with the returners. Next up here, we're going to have our coverage teams. I got some numbers here about who led. You got any guesses on who the top 3 special teams aces might have been last year, Rob? Even want to guess?
Elijah Hicks?
No, not really. So let me just go. Daniel Hardy, number 1.
I was going to actually say Daniel Hardy.
Daniel Hardy must be a 4-phaser. Jack Sanborn was a second leading snap. He's no longer here. And then Amon Agbangameng. I'm sorry, Justin.
Oh yeah, number 45, right?
Yeah, he was our 3rd. So those 3 must be 4-phasers because they're way ahead of everybody. I believe Amen O is still technically on the roster.
Okay.
Jack Sanborn's obviously gone. Daniel Hardy is still on the roster.
Daniel Hardy is making news.
Yeah, so today they're going to try him at linebacker. Yeah. So you must really like this guy. But
Justin will be happy.
Kind of coverage teams, right, is just these snaps have to be played. These snaps they're important. They have to be played well. And so when we get into training camp and we start projecting the 53 roster, and you're like, why is that guy on it? Why is that guy on it? Well, it's because somebody has to play special teams. You go down these lists of the top special teams, but you think these are backups, but really they're special team starters who happen to also be on the depth chart of your regular defense. So it's Daniel Hardy, Jack Sanborn, Amen O, Josh Blackwell, Jonathan Owens, Jacob Martin, Tarvarius Moore, Elijah Hicks, Travis Homer, right? So these guys are like special teamers. And not all of these guys will or won't make the roster, right? Travis Homer at running back is a very interesting thing because we talked about in our offensive depth chart breakdown, we really want another running back, but is there room for 4 running backs plus a special teams ace like Homer? Maybe Homer has one of those 4 spots locked down because of special teams. So we really are just going with Roshan, Manungai, and Swift, right? So
yeah.
These coverage teams are important on the overall roster building. I figured it was just worth spending a couple minutes on this episode because of that.
I should have realized Elijah Hicks wouldn't have been that high up there just because they had so many injuries at safety. He was playing safety.
Right. Yeah, and it was interesting to see Jonathan Owens so far up there too. Again,
another guy who ended up having to play a lot last year.
Right. And so you wonder too, we weren't sure if he was Dennis Allen's kind of guy at safety, but if he's Richard Hightower kind of guy on special teams, well, then Dennis Allen, you figure out how to use him as safety,
Mr. Biles, come on down.
Yeah. So speaking of Richard Hightower, I just think it's also just worth mentioning that, he was the only real coach, I think, just period, let alone coordinator, who survived the change from whatever you want to say is the head coach last year to Ben Johnson this year. So what do we think? Are special teams going to be better, even with the same coordinator from last year to this year?
If they get rid of Cairo Santos. I just don't want to have a repeat of guys getting pushed down and, kicks being blocked. Because it was also on the line, right? It is a situation with the trajectory, but it was also on the line. And then for Hightower, I think Hightower is a good coach, right? I really do. He came from San Francisco, and he was part of that team that actually, I believe they had the block kick or block punt against Green Bay in the playoffs that knocked them out that year, right? So, like, I'm all for anyone who gets rid of the Green Bay Packers. But when I think about that situation, and then we saw it again happen, like, that's not just poor execution. I think it's poor coaching. So I do hope that he gets over that type of situation. But I think he's got better playmakers now. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, so here's the Cairo Santos thing. Like, obviously, I want to explore all options necessary to try to improve the kicker position, but I do want a stronger leg, but I don't want to sacrifice the high percentage kicks from inside the 40 for the sake of a few extra attempts from the 50. So it's still got to be a balancing game of all that for sure. We're just going to have to see how it goes. You'd hope that any kicker worth anything these days is kind of automatic from 40 yards in, but we know Cairo is. So whether that's Jonathan Kim or whether there's any, I know a big thing is to sign guys out of the USFL or whatever that league is called these days. The last few guys have been signed out of there. The Lions kicker, I think, was signed out of there
Bates,
a couple years ago. So, maybe some of those guys got a big leg and are showing off too, and they'll come to camp. So we'll see. He's got to be pushed, but yeah, for the most part, hopefully it's going to be kind of the same. I don't think special teams was a problem last year, other than that one kick that ended up losing a game. But hey, that could have been on the referees too. You can't just tag team the long snapper and break through the line. So
fucking Packers.
Yeah. So, all right, Rob, you got anything else?
Just a reminder, again, hit the subscribe button, comment, huddle up, get yourselves a chance of winning this photograph, and we'll get that shipped out to whoever that winner is.
Yeah, so comment, huddle up, and also let us know too. Are you excited about this long snapper competition that's about to happen? What else?
The truth is,
or you just want to talk about the tuning extension? Whatever you want to talk about, or let us know in the comments, and we'll be happy to respond. But with that, bear down, claws up. Ready, break.